No heroes. No heroes. No heroes, baby.
Hello everybody, my name is Skip and I'm here to break down the top 32 deck lists from last weekend's OP10 regional in Germany, Munich. And yeah, let's get straight into the numbers. We can already see in the graph that Doffy was still surprising or not the top contender, making up more than a fourth of the top 32. But closely being followed by Black Teach with 6 representations in the top 32. And yeah, I don't think that's a big surprise to anyone either, with the strong support that the deck got in Kuzan and Liberation and Shiryu actually as well. Like that was a card that people um, didn't necessarily have on the top of their radars, but keeps all the aggro in check, especially so good against 3-cost Sanji that a lot of the Shanks players and Red Green Smoker players play, and also helps you a lot in a Zoro matchup. And yeah, then third most represented deck in the top 32 was Shanks. Super flexible. We saw a lot of aggro versions specifically. And yeah, I think we are still going to see a lot more from Shanks in the coming meta. And then we had 3 decks at 3 representations each with Purple Luffy, Black Yellow Luffy, and Zoro. And yeah, we have seen Purple Luffy and Black Yellow Luffy be relevant for the last couple of metas, but Zoro hasn't been around for quite a while, and yeah, this new meta really seems to be doing well for him. The new 5-drop Luffy is good for him, and Mole Gun is really good for him. There's just a lot of like passive love for the deck, and yeah, I also think that Mono Red is in Zoro is going to have a great time going forward. Then we do still see the Rob Lucci 2-off, still abusing Gecko Moria's power one last time. And then we get to our spicy one-offs in the top 32, and that's RP Luffy, ST10. Not surprising, has a really good Shanks matchup, and if you can just farm a couple of those, you should be good. And lastly, the single deck from OP10 is actually very surprising, to me at least, the Yellow Kid. And yeah, we don't see any Usopp, any Red Green Smoker. Those were maybe the new OP10 decks that people were expecting to get a top, but actually Kid was the one to even get the top 8 placement. And yeah, speaking about placements, let's take a look at the bracket from the top 16. Unfortunately, we don't have a bracket or I don't have a bracket for top 32 right now, but we can see that there were quite a few interesting matchups, and we also have our names here. First off, congratulations to Prouder again for taking the whole event down. We'll be checking out his deck list in a second, but you can also find an interview with him accompanied by his deck list on our YouTube channel, so just go to the channel, check that out, and while you're at it, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, please. And yeah, actually facing off against Zoro in the finals. Bogdan, actually from Munich, from what I've heard, he's a local Munich player, and he has been playing Zoro ever since OP10, from what I've heard. So huge shout out and congratulations there as well. And then the top 4, we see very familiar names. Angelo Torresello. Sorry if I'm butchering that pronunciation, but Angelo was, I think, top 4 at Utrecht finals with Black Yellow Luffy. And Enrico Maria Rustico, obviously our winner of Utrecht finals and also top 8 at Worlds just a couple of weeks ago. So still proving that his Doffy skills, even in OP10, were easily enough to get him to a top 4. Unfortunately falling to Prouder in the semi-final in a mirror match, and the guys actually played only one game because it took so long. They weren't able to finish a second game within those 90 minutes, within that hour, sorry. And yeah, then going to top 8, we see some more diverse decks. We still see one Lucci that was around. We saw another Teach in Raphael, who fell to the Zoro player Bogdan. And we actually see the yellow kid, piloted by Henry1334, who eventually fell to Enrico Maria after being able to beat another Doffy in Julius Schürhoff in the top 16. And Prouder taking down Nico on his Shanks deck. And Nico was actually the player in top seed. He went 10-0 in Swiss, so huge accomplishment there. And yeah, while looking at the top 16, we can actually see that there's not a single purple Luffy that advanced from top 32 to top 16, so that's quite notable. And yeah, a lot of the Doffys got filtered out. I mean, only 3 out of the 9 Doffys made it to top 16, which is quite remarkable as well. And 3 out of the 6 teachers from top 32 made it to top 16. So quite a few impressive feats there. Notably, 3 of the 4 Shankses made it to top 16, and then 2 of them got eliminated right away because Nico and Rello had to play a mirror, and Salva fell to Prouder. But enough yapping. Let's get into some deck lists. Let's look at our winner deck list very quickly. We also have the deck profile in a separate video, as said before, but this is what Prouder, aka Jan, my name brother, cooked up. Nothing too fancy. There's the one-off 7-cost Doffy, which is I guess the spiciest thing you'll find in this list, and it's sort of very useful in the mirror, mainly to break the cycle of like bouncing your Josus and your opponent's Josus back and forth. And yeah, apart from that, it's pretty cookie cutter. This is the tech card he chose to run to improve his mirror, and I guess there's some other matchups in which it can be fine, like bouncing Beckman against Shanks can be good sometimes, I assume. Or like a 7-cost Nugget, maybe. It definitely has some fringe cases in other matchups as well. But other than that, let's take a look at our 10-0 Shanks list from Nico at 1, who finished top 8 also. So this is quite an interesting deck list, because with Shanks we have so many different approaches to deck building. We can go heavy control, we can go rush, we can go hybrid, and this is I would say a very aggressive iteration with the Nami Straw Hat package, also attending to curve out Searcher into Sanji into 5-drop Luffy. But we also see this new Zoro actually, which is very interesting. You don't see that in all of the Shanks decks, allowing you to summon a 6k power character on KO. So that's also why this ace is in here. I assume it just makes your matchups that are based around removal a lot better. And he still has counter, so even against Doffy, like, you can just keep it in hand. And something that's rarely seen in Shanks is the mole gun. But if you are going with this more aggressive package, especially building around these 5 and 6k bodies, then it does make a lot more sense in those a bit slower versions that don't have as many 5-drops. It can be hard to have a good spot for mole gun, because as soon as you get to like 7-8 Don, you usually want to be playing these guys. So yeah, definitely really interesting inclusion. And let's get into the next deck list. We have Zoro that actually went 9-0 in Swiss from Alberto, A7LL. Spanish, really good player. And yeah, he was playing the finals in Swiss, but then unfortunately got eliminated in top 32, playing a really interesting approach to Zoro here. We do see sort of our typical animal package, but fitting the 1-cost chopper, which, I mean, we have seen people play this, but as a 4-off, it's certainly something to look at. And it makes sense for, I think, especially the Shanks matchup. It's really good because they don't have a great way of dealing with these 1-cost blockers. And just like blocking a 12k swing in the late game can be so powerful. And you won't find any dragon, for example, in this Zoro deck list, which is quite unusual. And Alberto instead chose to go with 7 Newgate and a play set of 8-cost Rayleigh. So really leaning into that control for the late game. And yeah, that's also, like, it reminded me of OP10 mono red decks, because they were like putting on so much pressure in the early game, and then as soon as the late game came around, they had these spots of suddenly pivoting to board control when you already gave a lot of your cards from hand to even stay alive. So shout out to Alberto. Really sad that he didn't get to show us his deck further. But from what I've heard, he had some really unlucky rolls in his top 32 match. So yeah, still congrats on the crazy run. Other than that, one of the purple Luffys that made it to top cut and who was actually, I think, 4th place or 5th place after Swiss, so going 9-1, was this list from Rated 2209. And yeah, I won't linger too long on this. It's sort of your regular purple Luffy list. We do have the one of Ranosuke to sort of have an out against Teach, like a Russia against Teach in some cases, and we do see double Nico Robin, which I can help against Doffy and some of the more aggressive Shanks or Zoro lists, I assume. And yeah, congrats to Rated for getting his 9x run, or rather 9-1 run, x1. And moving on to a deck that actually made top 16, piloted by Artan. Oh, actually, I think this is without an H. By Artan97. Artan from Five Face, from Hamburg. Really friendly guy. And he piloted this list with insane spice. He played 2 of Braham. So for those of you who don't know what this card does, activate main once per turn. You can put a stage with cost of 1 at the bottom of the owner's deck, and that includes Fulalet, the Blackbeard search stage. And if you do that, you can even go ahead and rest a 4 cost or less from your opponent, so that Burgess will even get tapped and potentially swung into. So this is the tag against Blackbeard. And although Artan fell in top 16 to a Teach, he still took a game from that Teach in his best of 3, and he beat a Teach in his top 32 match. And large thanks of that went to this Braham, who was able to just put away the stage and therefore decrease the Blackbeard's potential to find the pieces that he needed, and at the same time just resting those Burgess. And at one point he even came out of life for Artan, he told me. So that's a really cool tech. Other than that, it's just a really flexible list. You have all the blocker tags as a one-off respectively, so you can like access whichever you need in a specific situation. And then we top it off with 1 Bell and double Raigo, so also having the flexibility. This is good against Shanks and Teach. This is good against Shanks and Purple Luffy. So yeah, just really cool list from Artan there. And congratulations for his first offline top. Yeah, great guy. So next we have another great guy. Okay, why are you showing us another Doffy deck list? But there's double Hound plays. I just wanted to see this, so big shout out to Julius, my brother. I assume the Hound Blaze is mainly for Teaches in the mirror, of course. Like, this is the best card in the mirror, and I mean, I guess with this guy in combination. But the side who sees Teach is usually very favored if the other one doesn't, and just Hound Blazing your opponent's Teach can really put you in a good spot in the mirror. And another advantage of this is that it bottom decks 2 cost Rosinante, and yeah, I think it was fair to expect quite a few Bonnies or even red-green smokers in this tournament. So Hound plays really cool tech. I didn't get around to ask Julius how it performed for him, but I will definitely have to do that. And yeah, Julius, great player as well. Congratulations for the result. Let's move on to, I think, our last top 16 deck. This is Zange's RP Luffy. He went also 9-1, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, this is sort of the RP Luffy go second deck list that we have that we saw have a rise up in late OP09. You do still run the 4 of Lead Performer Disaster and a couple of 3-cost events, and top that up just with a very powerful top end for 10-cost Shanks to really shut down those Doffy boards and those Zoro boards. So yeah, really cool list that I think was sort of a discovery by the West. Like I never saw anything like this come out of Asia. So only the one of Zoro Juro is actually quite unconventional. Like people started to cut it completely. But yeah, also the chopper's just very good improvement for this deck. I mean, kind of every red deck is gonna run this chopper, I feel like. Just so good. And we can also see the one of Franosuke, just like the Purple Luffy, to cheese out some wins against Teach in some cases. Next up, we do have the yellow kit, piloted by Henry 1334. And yeah, this is actually the deck that kicked Julius out of the tournament in top 16. Yeah, it was a really, really close match on stream, which Henry managed to win 2 against 1. And yeah, let's talk about this list. I mean, we haven't seen too many yellow kit lists. And I find it really interesting that he does have the one of Rationale, I guess, to help with Teach, which I assume could be a tricky matchup, although probably Hawkins isn't a bad card in there. And also 4 of Rush Zoro to help with that matchup as well, I assume. And other than that, you're just playing a bunch of good yellow cards, right? Gedatsu, Nami, just to give you that mid-game removal. This X-Drake is really, really good. Badge will always find his way into yellow decks, I'm afraid. And this new Nico Robin is also kind of a broken card in combination with 8-cost kit. You can just like deny your opponent a lot of card advantage while still taking their life from them. And yeah, massive shout out and congratulations to Henry for the amazing top 8 result. Moving on to another top 8 deck list, we have our first Teach that we are showcasing. Although we have to give shoutouts to Angelo, who was even top 4 with Teach. I just wanted to show this deck list by Rafael Neven, former Yugi player, if I'm not mistaken. And it's pretty, like, Angelo's lista was even more standard, but here we do have the double Laboon to talk about, which is a card that has been finding its way out of the OP10 deck lists, but Rafael decided that he still liked to run 2 copies, presumably to deal with a lot of 5-drops that are in the meta, and also the Laboon Doc Q still takes care of all of Doffy's 4-drops very efficiently. So yeah, we do have the new Shuryu, which is sort of that anti-aggression piece as well. So yeah, the rest is sort of pretty cookie cutter, how you would expect a Blackbeard list to look like. Cutting down on 1 Lafitte, which is, I mean, you do still have so many ways to search in your stage, and you're in my era, that's at some point it's sort of redundant and you get some diminishing returns, so I can definitely see cutting Lafitte down. Congratulations to Rafael, for whom it also was his first serial, I think, so a lot of firsts at this Munich regional. And last but not least, actually, there has to be one deck list I'm missing. I have to load it up. Give me just a second. Okay, here we are back. Let's take a look at this Lucci list that made top 8. It's quite interesting. We do see a triple Kaido. Obviously to deal with the Teach matchup, which is probably your worst matchup, and obviously also good against BY. I'm not even sure if Teach or BY is worse for Lucci. Both really suck, I can tell you that much. One of Jack I found quite surprising. I mean, you will still see a lot of Doffy, but maybe just the Brooks and the Kakus and also Soap Sheep is enough to deal with that. We do see one of Tashiki also to have some reduction against Teach, I assume, and one of Kuzan. So a bit all over the place with a couple of nice one of Tex. Definitely worked out for Kevin, so congratulations on the top 8 result. And now let's take a look at the very last deck lists, keeping the most exciting stuff for last. Our runner-up in Bogdan. Congratulations, the Munich local with a very unique Zoro list, I gotta say. Totally different approach from what Alberto had for us. We do see the cut of Korea, first of all, so we are only running Nami as our searcher. But no, we do have another searcher in the buggy. So sort of a flashback from OP03, OP04. Buggy makes a resurgence, and I think it's a really cool deck list. Like, we didn't see any Rush Zoros or Robson from Alberto, and also this curve is capping out at 5-drop Luffy, whereas Alberto was playing like double 7-cost double 7-cost Newgate and playset of Rayleigh. So instead we have Makinos, we have Nico Robbins, we have the super spot build Duck Troops, and yeah, those Robsons and those Zoros. So a lot more mid-range oriented, and also a playset of Red Hawk, which Maximilian Lorenz told me Bogdan has been running ever since OP01. This guy has always been running Red Hawk in his Zoro, and people at locals are even 100% playing around his last life being Red Hawk all the time because he always has it. So this is sort of his signature card, and so great to see him have a second place at a 1,000 player regional. So again, huge congratulations to everyone for these amazing results. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and see you in Mülheim, I guess. Bye.